Okay, before I start this video, I want to make something very clear. I don't agree that all men are scum like some Twitter users want everyone to believe. I've known kind men and I'm dating a very nice one, so obviously I don't believe all men are horrible and awful. I agree that women are capable of being creepy and horrible too. We're just talking about me personally here. Anyway, I know the title is what made you click on this video, but let me make something clear. I'm scared of everyone, but I tend to be more fearful of men in a public setting. Obviously, I'm not scared of my boyfriend or my friends. Duh, of course. I know them personally and I trust them not to do anything creepy to me. Let's just start this video off with some of the creepy experiences I've had that made me very uncomfortable. I was about 15. Me and my sister and my mother had arrived home from a trip. We were at the airport attempting to get an Uber. The local airport had a rule about Ubers not pulling into the passenger pickup, so we couldn't find our Uber. My mother was starting to freak out at me because I was the one trying to get the Uber. We were all tired and jet lagged. All of a sudden, a man in a black car pulled up and started asking if we were Uber riders. My mother said yes, and I instantly went, "This isn't our Uber," knowing exactly what our car was. It wasn't a black Mazda. Despite me telling her this was a terrible idea, she made me get into the man's car. Thankfully, he was actually an Uber driver. He was an Uber black driver. He took us home and nothing bad happened to us other than me being forced to dish out $60 to a guy who wasn't even the Uber I requested. I do remember being very, very uncomfortable the entire ride. I was terrified because I wasn't an idiot. I knew this was the exact kind of situation a human trafficker looked for. Maybe the story would have ended very differently if it was just my mother alone. Personally, I would have never, ever gotten into that car if I was alone. I was acutely aware of the risks, even at 15. Yes, nothing happened. We were lucky, but imagine if it had been a man with ill intentions. Things could have gone very differently. I know what you're thinking. Absolutely insane. It wasn't my idea, and I'm still shocked nothing happened. 3 women in some random man's car. Absolutely never do this. Ladies and gents, never, ever get into a car that isn't your requested Uber. I believe my family was incredibly lucky we didn't get into a predator's car. Ideally, you would have someone you know come and pick you up. That is the safest way of travel for a lone person. Another story I have, a shorter one, another airport story. We had just landed, again, me, my sister, and my mother. We were on our way to find our airport bus, and these 3 men approached us. Large, burly, strange-looking men. They asked, "Do you need a ride?" Me being the paranoid Priscilla I looked past them at their cars. Black vans with darkened license plate and absolutely no detailing as to what or who they worked for. Not a taxi sign in sight. My mother almost said yes, but I told her absolutely not, and we safely boarded the airport bus. I will say this again. Sure, they could have been completely harmless men just trying to make some cash on the side with their very sus black van, but I wasn't willing to take that risk. I made an entire catcalling video about a man catcalling me in a gas station and whispering very, very inappropriate things about me standing behind me in line. So I will not reiterate that story, but if you want to go watch that video, I will provide the link in the description. After all these reasons, you can see why I'm personally a little bit afraid of men, and women sometimes, in a public setting. I'll be honest, as a little girl I often heard stories about women being murdered by a scorned ex-lover. It was a prevalent fear of mine, and it is a reality for many women all over the world, as well as a reality for some men. I will say again, not all men are violent. Not all men would hurt a woman. There are reports of women hurting their ex-partners as well. Unfortunately, men are conditioned often to not report or get over it, so their suffering is very real as well. Let's bring a real story from the media. A young woman by the name of Samantha Josephson was murdered by a man who lured her into his car. She mistakenly took his car for her Uber, and it's incredibly saddening what happened to her. Her passing has ushered in a bill that requires Uber drivers to put illuminated signs on their cars to make sure something like this never happens again. Even just taking Ubers can be dangerous for women. There are many stories all over the internet of men, drivers, or male passengers being creepy, in some cases even sexually assaulting their female passengers or drivers. Of course, there are women drivers and passengers who have sexually assaulted male passengers or drivers. Like I said, not a blanket statement. I will read some of these stories, none as serious as what happened to Samantha, however, still very creepy. I've never been reported before, but something similar happened to me yesterday. I took a lift home from work, and the driver kept asking me personal questions, such as what I do in my free time, who I live with, even information about my parents' marital status. I felt this was odd, but maybe he was just socially awkward. He also handed me a pamphlet for his church, despite me not asking for it or mentioning that I was religious in any sense. When he dropped me off, he proceeded to ask me out. I said no. It made me feel scared for my safety, and this man, who I've known for 15 minutes now, knows where I live and work, and might not be the sanest person. I've never been reported by an Uber driver, but I've reported Uber drivers who have made me feel uncomfortable. A few asked for my number, but on one incident, some guy purposely turned off the pool option, and I was stuck in the car with him for over an hour. He went through gridlock traffic, and he just tried telling me how he was a good lay. I told Uber, and they sent a sincere apology and called me for a follow-up. I'm not sure if they terminated him. Just keep messaging until you get a response, in my honest opinion. They'll probably have to figure out who's lying in the situation. He probably accused you of being rude or slamming his car door or something. This happened to my wife. She took an Uber one night so she could go drink with her friends. When she got home, she told me her driver had been flirting with her the whole drive home. And when she got home, he had asked her if he could give her his phone number. She told him she was married, and he left. We both agreed that she is so awesome that people are going to want to flirt with her occasionally. We both had a good laugh and went to bed. The next morning, she noticed she had an alert from Uber informing her the driver had reported her for vehicle damage and inappropriate behavior. She was suspended from using Uber Black. We filed a report right back. Uber got with her that same day, took her statement, apologized, and we never heard anything else about it. They reinstated her ability to use Black again. I have no idea what resolution came from this, if anything actually happened to that driver or not. I just thought I'd let you know that you're not alone. This has happened to other women too. Once I had an Uber driver stalk me. I was alone in the car just striking up friendly conversation. He was from a town I worked in. He said he was from there, and I nonchalantly said, "Oh yeah, I work at workplace there." The next few weeks were awful. He showed up at my work, kept calling our phone. He stopped after a month, but still, I had our security guy walk me to my car every night because he was so creepy. I took a Lyft alone to the airport at 2 a.m. He asked me if I wanted to take a nap. After chatting me up for a while and texting someone, he said he needed to pick something up, but it would be quick. He pulled off the interstate and asked me how old I was. I told him I was 30, and he feverishly texted. He pulled the Lyft sign out of his dash. Another man was in the parking lot. He walked by. "Don't worry, I'm not robbing you, my friend," he said, then got back on the interstate. We didn't speak the rest of the way. Yeah, I reported it and not a damn thing happened. Never take a ride alone from a stranger at night. Thank the Lord I was too old. Credit for these stories goes to Reddit. After these stories, you can at least see why I'm a little scared of dudes. And also just of Ubers. And being alone. Anyway, and one more thing. Men, please think before approaching a woman alone in public. I will talk about my own personal self here as to avoid generalization. If I'm approached by a man, let's say out grocery shopping, I instantly become uncomfortable. Especially if this man is older. I'm the type of person who gets uncomfortable even if I get looked at too long by someone else. If I get stared at, I instantly become uncomfortable. A stare from either gender has the same effect. I personally just do not like to be noticed in public. I prefer to blend in and mind my business. But anyway, his intentions could be completely harmless, just to let me know I have something stuck on my shoe or I've dropped something on my purse. However, the possibility that he's approaching for something less nice is what takes prevalence in my mind. I instantly go on the defensive. When I'm alone, I'm at risk. At least that's what I've learned and been taught by the media. Most women I know do not appreciate being hit on by a random stranger, or asked for their number. Of course, it's not the same for everyone. This has happened to me. I was approached before when I was alone. He was fairly respectful though. Still made me uncomfortable. He gave me his number and said he hoped I would call, and left it at that. But gents, if you absolutely need to approach a woman in public, this is how you do it. I personally would still advise against it if she's not in a setting where that sort of behavior is considered more appropriate, i.e. a bar or a nightclub, somewhere designed for mingling. However, not all women are like me, and they may enjoy a spontaneous but respectful approach at their local grocery store. I will drive this point home as hard as I can. Yes, if you approach a woman alone with completely innocent intentions and leave with innocent intentions, you're obviously going to feel bad when I tell you you're possibly making her uncomfortable. But remember, it's not really your fault. The media's fear-mongering and the men who have approached her with ill intentions or just acted straight creepy. She's on the defensive because of past experiences, or simply knowing or hearing about a fellow woman being creeped on by a man in a public setting. I'm not saying don't approach if you see someone beautiful at your local Walmart. Just keep in mind your actions and keep in mind how your behavior could be making her uncomfortable. I will say approaching a woman in a group of friends is very different than it is approaching a woman alone. I know personally I would be a little more relaxed if approached when not alone. I still wouldn't like it though. Again, nothing I'm saying is a blanket statement. Everything I've said happens to women also happens to men. My boyfriend, for example, has been approached and hit on by very creepy women before. It's definitely a two-way street. I personally dislike being approached and hit on or catcalled, even if I wasn't alone. But like I said, not all women are me. So to wrap everything up, I personally am a little frightened of guys, especially when I'm alone. Will this fear prevent me from booking an Uber when I need one? No. Will it prevent me from going to the store alone when I need food? No, of course not. Will this fear prevent me from making new male friends? Absolutely not. It's simply a natural wariness I've developed over the years. I just tend to keep my eyes open wider when I'm alone. And like I said, this isn't applying to just me. I'm sure some men fear when they go out alone, just like I'm sure some women just do not have any fear when they go out alone. Each person is different. But anyway, thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Follow me on my socials. Sorry for the dog barking. My wouldn't shut up their goddamn effing stupid dog. Apologies for that. Anyways, thanks for watching. Bye, guys.